Fri.PM is brought to you by Nikki Hit Beauty Studio, Mountain Anton Koto, Buna Musa di Douala, and Prime 22 Bar and Restaurant, Bukwango, Buya.
Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Joan. Welcome to Fri.PM. I got Yana and Kwa in the building. We have a very interesting thing to talk about today, and that is the recent bill passed at the just ended parliamentary session in Yaounde. In fact, there were 7 bills that were adopted by Cameroon's 2 legislative houses. But the most controversial is the one regulating cultural associations in the country. So our guys, how are you doing? You look good, you look good. I look fly, you know. So I'm happy to have you guys on the table.
Yeah, same.
All right, so we have a very interesting thing to talk about. Yep. Something that has been trending on social media for the past couple of days, and we have to deal with it somehow.
How do you even deal with something like this?
We have to deal with it. The new bill, they call it AKA the killer bill. That's how everybody refers to it now on social media. It's the hashtag killer bill has been adopted. Mm-hmm. So far, it is, the head of state is expected to promulgate this into law, and perhaps in the next couple of weeks. But the big question is, why is this bill getting everybody's attention? Why is it so controversial?
I think like what a ridiculous bill that has come out of this system. This is just yet another one. But you should know that the bill is pitched as a bill which is supposed to regulate artistic and cultural associations with the objective of promoting the creative cultural industries and to preserve national and universal heritage. At least that's how I'm speaking like so
House rep.
My Republican
House rep on Fri.PM.
So that's how it's put there. So ideally, it has, the bill is not without its merits, because there are issues like the fact that it will guarantee better health insurance for artists. There's also the point there about providing subventions, that the reason why federations are being created is so that the government can authoritatively provide subvention and support to artistic and cultural associations. Remember that you have there is really no organized structure in the way these associations are. They're just popping up every day. So on the surface level, that will make sense, because of course the government would want to. You imagine that the government that wants to give subvention to these bodies would want a unified platform through which it can give. However, first, from a universal perspective, global perspective, that it is counter-trend. Every country understands that the cultural industries requires deregulation and not more regulation, right? True. So if you take countries like Nigeria had to deregulate its film sector such that even the Nigeria Film Corporation which was under the government, became redundant. The UK in 2011 actually gave a wholesale liberalization, that's deregulation of its entertainment space, which means that governments all the time with globalization and digitalization understand that to enable participation, they need to deregulate rather than regulate that sector in order. Then the reason why it's so controversial in Cameroon is because first, the government has never provided any support to cultural development. That, in fact, the film sector and this entertainment sector had gone comatose, and it required private producers to actually come and revive it from limbo. Then you add to all of this the fact that the spirit behind the bill. Now you want to do a bill where you say, oh, this is supposed to be for artistic and cultural associations, but you do not have a participatory approach in which you have consultation with a cross-section of these stakeholders who want to determine how the
them.
approach that it will take, how it's supposed to benefit them. You don't have it. It's the same top, bottom, non-participatory, trickle-down, leader-knows-all approach that you have. Then, at the end of the day, because they want to max the whole thing, they start taking artists like Atebazo and Nicolas Manga, which is a stretch to actually call them artists. You have to go through this mental gymnastic to actually bring yourself to that position of referring to them as artists, because they have no name recognition. They are very breath stink of beggars who in the way they talk already shows you that they have been fed by their slave masters and are hoping that they will get more crumbs. Now, these are the things that the spirit of the legislation itself gets these people angry. So you get people like Ama Pierrot and Jean-Pierre Esuma going up in arms. Now, because they were not consulted, some of these people do not even know the articles of the bill.
Wow.
Yes, they don't know the articles of the bill, but it is enough for them to oppose it because they were not consulted, right? You cannot just assume
they
that
people involved in the whole thing, and then you're not consulted.
they are not consulted. So then you have the articles themselves in the bill, which are very problematic.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
And just to break that down a little bit, right? The most, I don't know, there are so many, according to this bill, right? Let me just take it down to everybody's watching. All artists are supposed to belong to an association, which is kind of okay. These associations are supposed to belong to a guild, and then these guilds are supposed to belong to a union, and then these unions are supposed to be headed by regional federations, which is supposed to be responding directly to MINAC, that's the Ministry of Arts and Culture. Just talking about it, I'm hungry. Artists are also not allowed to receive funding within and out of Cameroon. Entertainers are not allowed to collaborate with any international body, artist, or company without MINAC's approval.
Yes.
Artists are not also allowed to partake in any cultural activity out of the country without state approval. Like tours are not supposed to even happen without MINAC's signature on it.
Imagine that.
Artists should not partake in politics. Example, Charlotte Dibanda, who recently spoke so many things about the old-fashioned regime. All artists must file their financial data in order to inform the state on the status of their finances. All associations and guilds are limited to their geographical areas, which means if you are residing in Boya, you are registered in Boya, you are just to function in Boya, which means if you want to move from Boya to Douala, you need somebody who is in Douala, who is registered in Douala, to work, to partner with you in order for you to do that, which means you want to shoot a video in Douala, you want to shoot a movie in Douala, you want to host a fashion event or a music event in Douala, and you're in Boya, you need to partner with somebody who is in Jesus.
That's a lot. That's so much for entertainment and culture.
See, I don't know. Then telecoms comes down. It's not only the artists. They have. I'm just trying to help everybody understand.
Yeah.
Why is it so crazy? Telecoms, corporate bodies, everybody else who is supposed to support the entertainers or cultural standings in this country should not deal with entertainers. Oh my God. Who are not recognized by the state.
Yes.
And, or AKA belong to any association controlled by the federation. Else, the state will accuse these companies of going against the law and destabilizing the nation.
Yeah.
For the love of Christ, how in the world did people sit down and construct this bill to a point where it's even sent to the parliament, to a point where it is at the president's desk? How?
I'll tell you why. Censorship that threatens by freedom of speech, by people bypassing mainstream media platforms to talk, to be vocal, right? Because it's a trend. It's just very umbrella of the government. Because we've seen this in 2014, where 2015 thereabout, where the government passed the anti-terrorism bill, which was effectively regulating mainstream media. Because that came
Censoring speech.
Censoring freedom of speech. It came at a time when you had a lot of media houses being vocal about the atrocities committed in English-speaking regions of Cameroon and in the north. So you see that, and at that time, African media was shut down. I find this particular bill, the timing is very, very suspicious because you find that it's come at a time where Richard Bona, Charlotte Dupanda have been very vocal, using their platforms to espouse the frustrations of the average Cameroonian. And you start asking why the government is going to come in when they've done absolutely nothing to enable the entertainment and culture sector in Cameroon, and that's just one of many which they've done absolutely nothing to help. And you also look at the fact that the government standards are very low, but this time have gone really lower because now we're in 2020, yeah, where it's expected that every sound state is going to create a platform where its local entertainment industry is going to thrive amidst foreign competition, because we're living in a digital age where you can consume content anywhere, anytime. So what the government should be doing is regulating foreign domination and not making it difficult for artists who have built this platform, sweat, tears, and blood for over 10 years themselves, and then they coming from nowhere to everywhere, So, I mean, that's actually predatory.
I do agree with you that in itself, bureaucratization of the process of getting accreditation, licensing, and all of that is a form of censorship.
Yeah.
Because we all know what it will involve to really get.
I actually think that's legalizing corruption, because that you have to go through the whole process of queues going to Yaounde, which is the same thing which we are tired of when we have to go to government offices. You send your file to go, you have to go to Yaounde. It's about the same thing. They are just making a whole bureaucratic structure of entertainment. Entertainment is supposed to be free. It's supposed to be expressive.
And once you bureaucratize it, let's imagine that the government has good intentions, which is a hard time to do.
Wait, let me imagine.
So
I cannot even imagine.
Then
yeah.
We get to the point that then they did not think it through rightly, because the creative industry is not one that can strive under bureaucratic systems like that. That if you have bureaucratic policies and measures and procedures, then you actually kill the art.
Yeah.
You kill the art rather than...
Because art is supposed to be expressive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to go through all of these processes. But I differ with you slightly with your observations about whether this is motivated by political factors about speech. Because, and this is where I have a problem with the artist, because this has been a bill that has been circulating for a year. They talked about it in Rekan, the last national cultural festival in which all these artists, different artistic and cultural associations were supposed to come together. And so for a year, they've been talking about this bill. And the artists, in fact, the idea of creating federations, while Rekan was going, they proposed 23 federations for each of the artistic expressions. So it has been there, and the problem is, first, that the artists, particularly, is the apathy with the young artist. You see, if you do not play politics will play you. They've always thought, they've always, and I'm on record saying this, that if you want to stand up against a dictatorship, you don't speak in hushed tones. Right? That you have to be out there, you have to say it. The fact that you are unaffected does not mean you should not be indignant. The artists were quiet. Now, even when it came to their sphere, because they think that they don't have a political platform, that their platform does not have to be politicized, they did not even have the time to go through to see that this is what was at stake for them. Right? They did not. The young artists are the most apathetic in the whole of the world. We hear Magasco, we hear Ali Rhymes, and managers like Evan Dumbe and all of these people now coming out. Mani Bella, that one who even endorsed Bia during the 2018 election. I went to it today. I was singing Ayopa Ayopa. Is the one who is getting to coming out because it has come to bite her in the behind. She has come now. She has come now, and she's complete. You see, they are speaking sides of their mouth.
No.
Hold on. I want to ask something. You spoke about Rekan, right? The thing about it, the absence of young artists at Rekan, were they even invited? Did they even know that
Look here. The thing is, we're talking about a bill which has been around for a year.
Right.
They could have passed it at any time. Right?
Yes.
They could have done what they wanted when the bill. I know that it takes time, it takes processes to actually put it out there, to finally put it out there. But then now, my problem is these people understand already that it's not now that digital platforms are beginning to explode in Cameroon. No. They understand very well that the artists don't need to go to mainstream media or go back again to mainstream media where they can easily regulate their content. Right? Now, we look at what happened with the whole Southern Cameroon's issue. It exploded on Facebook, right? So now, I think the government has people who are giving them certain hints about where this thing can explode to next. So I think the government is, it's quite brilliant of them to look forward and see. But then they're using their foresight for the very wrong reasons. Because now
where is the foresight?
The foresight, the bill has been around for over a year, right? But now they're passing it at this point, and I find it, like I said, I find the timing very suspicious. You're saying that the government,
I'm saying that because the bill had been around,
yes,
that the outings of artists like Charlotte Dipanda,
but then it has, I think it has actually really motivated it being put out now at this time. I'll give you another example. There was a time when the government was proposed another bill around social media, the social media tax bill, right? Where every telecoms company was going to pay 200,000 on every foreign app that was downloaded. I found it on the surface level very interesting because it's going to help the local market, the tech ecosystem. But then once the tech ecosystem is there, but has the government really helping them? You understand? And then that bill came around the period where a lot of voices were being raised on, especially on Twitter. There were a lot of people coming out saying things which the government found very, very offensive. And that's also up there about the same time where the ceased internet in English-speaking region of Cameroon. So you see that the government understands the game, it understands the impact of digital. And I said one time, I tweeted one time, I'm saying that we're going to come at a time where dictatorial regimes in Africa are going to regulate social media, either through taxes or randomly shutting it down. So I'm not surprised we're at this point right now because they're finding alternative means, because they understand the internet has to function because they have corporations who have to invest in the country, right? So now they're finding alternative means to regulate the media, entertainment, culture, everything. So when you say that the bill has been around and is not motivated, I frankly disagree.
I'm saying, you know, first the reason why I disagree with that is that the examples that you gave began being quite vocal while this bill had already been circulated.
Yeah, it had not been pushed out there because...
No, it had, which is what I'm telling you.
We're seeing it right now.
You are saying, no, you are having, I'm saying a bill, the process for this bill to get to Parliament and all of that was that it had to go through consultation. And they used artists, which is I'm trying to make the point. They used artists with no name recognition, like DJ Belik, like Lido Maxelen. It's a stretch, right, to think that they're artists. they used these artists to try to propel this agenda, perhaps paid to propel this agenda. These artists pushed it. The fact that, listen, did you hear at any point, as politically conscious as Vasiro is, as Richard Bona is, as Charlotte Dipanda, Malox are, did you hear any time they talk about a bill? No. But this bill had been there. So I'm saying that I agree that I think that artists like Charlotte Dipanda and all the other politically conscious artists are a huge addition. This is what is expected of them. But in the formulation of this bill, that their input, I do agree that the bill is a form of censorship. That's a form of silencing and all of that. I just don't agree that it was motivated by the outings of these artists.
But then, anyway,
that perhaps the government is trying to reap from, as you see, from where.
But then another thing too is, it's not if you're going to adopt a bill, you're obviously going to consult the people who are concerned, the frontliners of involved in that industry.
They were consulting people that we don't even know. Whether
who are those people? Listen. Nicolas Manga and Atebazo, actually, they are on YouTube defending this bill, calling themselves artists who were consulted for this bill. The question is not even.
The thing is, see.
No, these are artists who are trying to bring their careers on life support through.
Yeah, because what else do they? Are they going to go?
So they want to now side with this bill.
No,
they're actually siding. They're actually siding.
The
thing is, see, artists now can make money, right, digitally, without the government. That's the thing, and that's the problem. Because also the thing is, artists are very powerful. They have a platform. They are mostly regarded as court leaders.
Yes.
Because with their platform, they can sensitize the whole country. With their platforms, they can change minds and cause revolutions. So the government understands, and combining that with social media, that's dangerous. Imagine Salatiel. Okay, now Salatiel has there's actual information about Salatiel doing a collaboration with Beyonce. I mean, everybody was on the Lion King album, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to collaborate with Beyonce on the
visual album.
In the visual album. So now imagine Salatiel has to do this, which is going to propel us, give us a good image internationally. Has to go take permission from Yaounde or where he has to go, the right quarters. Imagine that.
The process.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's
really ridiculous. And then if they don't like your face, that's all.
So, and when we talk about artistic associations and all of that, we have the tendency of focusing a lot on musicians, but there's also the film. And I want to particularly and writers and dancers and all of that.
Industry,
yes, but I want to emphasize those of CFI, because the filmmakers, particularly Anglophone filmmakers, they are particularly opposed to this particular law, because of the fact that they think that it's some form of marginalization in itself, that because it fails to factor in the bicultural nature of this country itself, that there are organizational differences between French Cameroon and English Cameroon, French filmmakers and English filmmakers.
I mean, if the bill is out just in French, it's not yet in English,
for
example.
Okay.
Simple case in point, practical example.
So, I mean, all around, the bill is not well thought out. If at all the intentions were good, pure and everything, if we can dismiss the financial implications of this bill in terms of imposing taxes, we can remove the policy implications in terms of censorship and all of that, it still does not meet the mark. It's a big miss. Yes.
And I think it goes further to miss the whole point. And I think the government is keeping busy with the wrong issues right now, because it's had a 60-40 quota on content in Cameroon, where 60% local content and 40% foreign across media platforms, anyway, mainstream media. But then it's done nothing to reinforce all of that. But now it comes from nowhere. So much confidence, so much energy to impose, a bill on artists who have struggled to build. I mean, I'll be repeating myself about them struggling, because I'm laying emphasis on the fact, because it's actually really sickening to find that the government is coming to reap it also. Because now you have the 60-40 quota. What have you done to make sure that it is being reinforced? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And then what you come now with this bill. What do you expect artists to do?
The most annoying part about this bill is when you hear that entertainment companies, groups, associations are expected to pay a sum of money to MINAC. It ranges from 25,000 francs to 600,000. So I'm just giving a glaring example.
I'm just saying that they're basically legalizing corruption.
Like Camille, CFI, big record labels, and all those things. People like Camille are supposed to pay 600,000. Record labels like Alpha Beta Records are supposed to are in the category of probably 150,000, which is renewable after 10 years, right? People might say, oh, it's after 10 years, so what? But no, why am I giving the Ministry of Arts and Culture money? When they are the ones to give me money.
Exactly.
You have to preserve the cultural
that's preserved.
You have to have the Republican.
I think the culture they're preserving is corruption. That's the culture they're preserving. Yeah, and it's fine, because that's the way they operate. So it's fine.
It'll be fascinating to see how the
last time we had
it'll be fascinating to see how the flows. Because the thing with digitalization is that most of the gatekeepers become obsolete.
Yeah,
the traditional ways of
gatekeeping. They operate basically.
Remember the last time we were talking about the late Mamangia situation, and then the whole royalty and everything came up. We're talking about the music association and how the former one has actually just done a lot to hijack money.
Yes, it's really hijack.
Payment of royalties and all. Then you have the Ministry of Arts and Culture is silent on that one. There is no, I don't know whether Stanford Thomas is fighting. Well, I'm just going down. My point is that you have the royalty situation here, where the Ministry of Arts and Culture, the 60-40 situation, doesn't help to enforce these laws for artists mean across the board now, not just musicians, to even gain anything from their craft. You don't help the media stations. The Ministry of Arts and Culture does not force the media stations to play Cameroon content on their TV, film, music, or fashion things. They don't force them to do that. You come to association, film festivals and all that. Ministry of Arts and Culture gives you a miserable 2 million francs to run a festival like that, which you spend almost 10 million francs or even not.
And they expect you to come pay again.
Then they expect you now to still come and pay them.
Me,
my question is, what are they supposed to use that money for?
I think it's. I mean, we can assume one don't want to use it. It's left for every other person to interpret. Let's even imagine that you're paying money to the state just for the running of the state.
But we're still paying taxes. These companies are still expected to pay government taxes.
It's fine by me. Let them do it. My issue is,
government, so
you see what you have just said and what you said about quota, and you reinforced it with Otto's right, is that it begs the question: what was the right action to do? Was it the bill that was necessary, or was it implementation of existing, enforcement of existing laws and regulations,
or just even improving the infrastructure
or even creating, because it is structural.
Exactly.
Like, what the hell?
The government has not been able to enforce this quota system that we are talking about. So the issue is not a law that is needed. What you need if you want to boost artistic and cultural productions is actually to make sure that these things are implemented. It's at the implementation, which also is you see, it's also a positive light, because if they cannot implement those, then it's also possible that they will not implement this one, and so it will be all noise and vibration.
The funniest thing, I think because this involves money. This involves money.
Recovering royalties, it's an avenue to actually make money.
Does it probably the government? They're going to profit.
Oh yes.
So
that makes 35%.
They could see embarrassing that, but then this is direct, because artists cannot produce because they don't even have money to produce what they're struggling to produce what they're producing right now, and then the government has imposed another financial constraint. They cannot produce. We only have to consume foreign content, which means it's counterproductive.
It is.
Yeah.
But also that you see, it also affects the government.
Where's Square One again?
It also affects the government.
Yeah.
In that, it's a shot to your own leg. You when you put in this type of bureaucracy, it means that even the multinational companies that might want to use artists here and who might be paying taxes to you and all of that would not see the need. You see, so just imagine that Salater was supposed to do a song with Beyonce, and he needs an accreditation or license to do it. And you imagine the Beyonce team thinking about, why do they have to go through this process?
Yeah,
why? And there's no shortage of in every sense. It does not promote what the pitched as the rationale behind this ridiculous bill.
I think at every point and angle, you find that it is meant to clip the wings of a growing industry.
Politics is not for teachers and lawyers.
No, not at all.
That
not in this country.
In this ecology, in this particular ecology where they exist, they will become food if they don't stand up. Right?
True.
You cannot be neutral in the face of injustice.
There you go.
You cannot. When it's happening to the teachers and the lawyers, and you think that you cannot speak up,
fold your arms, and then
And then when this thing happened, I saw artists telling people, their fans and other Cameroonians, that they need to stand up.
Yeah, Madagascar reacted.
Yes, and my question is, when did you stand up? When did you stand up?
I know where they stood up. I know where they stood up. At the during the election period. That's when they stood up.
There is no
for the government concert now during the elections. That's when they stood up.
There is no counterweight. They are so divided among themselves. Even with the bill, you've heard vibrations and Facebook posts and Twitter. But where is the action?
There we go. So now that lands us to another. Can this bill be revoked, and how? And I think that yes, it can, because at this point it's at the president's desk. He has not signed that bill yet, put his signature on it. So which means we still have some kind of hope that
imagine hoping for something like this.
I don't even know that kind of hope. It's kind of blurry if you ask me. But I think there are a couple of legally, right? There are ways that
I think they need to mount a unified front and call on the parliament to backtrack on the parliaments, the legislative bodies, to backtrack on this bill.
This is when we need our elites now.
Yes, they need to, but the artists need to be at the forefront of it. Because it is something that directly affects them. And quite frankly, people have stood up for artists for long.
Yes.
So they need to Stand up.
themselves.
Don't just speak behind closed doors. Don't just put Facebook posts. Don't just wait for Yaounde and Fri.PM table to talk and say these people have spoken. Stand up.
But what they can do is that they should mount up a massive social media campaign, writing petitions and requesting for millions of signatures on that petition, writing a missive to the presidency.
Do those things work?
No, I'm just saying.
Or they just do a boycott.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's a radical approach.
Which is that? Which is a language the government
We don't know how
understands.
radical approaches end up in this country. Probably end up in
No, I mean,
Boycott
you don't have to
you
confront
don't have to confront anybody. Just stay.
We are not partaking in
stay in my lane. Stay in your lane. You understand?
cultural-
Yeah. You.
So how is that going to help if everybody?
No. You know what? It's
Which
going
government
to
will agree with us?
it's going
They
to
have
twist their arms.
The African can coming up.
They're going to twist their arms.
I was trying to ask artists, just sample some of them, filmmakers, musicians, on where they stood on this bill, and they will say, "Oh, the bill is a very bad bill." What is it that is bad in the bill? Everything about that bill is just bad. Everything, the bill is not good. There is nothing. Not the way man feed John Luca. It's not good.
It's not good now.
Educate yourself, crying out loud. Educate yourself. Come on. What's the meaning of it bad because you know wait a good day.
Wait a good day.
Come on.
That's the question.
Yes.
I think it can be revoked because there's a situation in across the border in Nigeria where the advertising board was trying to implement a tax on online vendors, and I think it was pushed to Parliament, and there was a massive uproar on social media against that bill. Where imagine you have to sell your cups, right? I mean, you're trying to make ends meet online, and you have to pay a tax. You have to go through a process. In 2020, in this age of where everything is decentralized. So I think back to what you said about the campaign, yes, but then it should move beyond that. It should about taking proper, real action, media campaigns. Yeah.
Open letter to the president.
Yeah.
When that letter is sent, that letter has to be made public.
Yes.
So that everybody sees it. The signatures are
It should copy the whole country.
Yes, copy the whole country.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to copy the PM, the Minister of Arts and Culture.
The minister is also even an artist.
All right, guys, so we all have we've helped everybody and ourselves to understand this bill better, what it entails. And as Yaounde said, please, artists, everybody under the entertainment sector, please educate yourself on this bill. It affects you, it affects your business. I think some of those artists that are signed under record labels who feel like, my boss will handle it, not be me. It will affect you. Because if he's not making money, you'll be out of that record label, which means you'll be broke in the next 2 years. Yes. So please, let's join. This is the time where everybody has to come on board and fight this. Everything that we got. Because if not, we are dead. All of us are dead. There will be no Fri.PM table.
I mean, we're already dead. We'll just be gone.
Work on it. Thank you guys so much for coming.
My country people, on behalf of Village Ancestral Spirits, I invite you now for like, subscribe, comment for Fri.PM Table and all our social media platforms. Follow us.